Third base is the most underrepresented position in the Baseball Hall of Fame. With only 17 inductees, more managers have their plaques in the halls of Cooperstown than third basemen do. Their group will likely grow within the next couple of years, with Scott Rowland gaining more and more traction year over year, the controversial Alex Rodriguez coming onto the ballot in 2022, and another third baseman making his Hall of Fame ballot debut in 2024. It's widely accepted that Adrian Beltre is a surefire Hall of Famer, most likely on his first ballot in 24. He not only has the stats to back it up, but was also beloved on the field by his teammates, his competitors, and the media alike, a feat that not too many players can say they've accomplished. Personality aside, how Beltre is even in the position to be a no-doubt Hall of Famer is remarkable among itself, considering how quietly he went about his business. He was never the face of baseball, never really the face of the franchise he played for, and constantly had players overshadowing him throughout his entire career. He came up sharing a division with a prime Barry Bonds, was cast in Ichiro's shadow in Seattle, spent a hot minute in Boston before heading to Texas where the attention was on Josh Hamilton and company, before the franchise's sharp decline where Beltre took on a mentor role for the young, underperforming Rangers team. He was rarely atop the league leaderboards, only leading the league in hits in 2013, doubles in 2010, and home runs in 2004, while never winning an MVP award. He was elected to 4 All-Star games, collected only 4 Silver Sluggers and 5 Gold Gloves to complement a 21-year career that saw limited postseason action. For the most part, he flew under the radar during his career, which was defined by durability and consistency. You always knew what you were going to get with Beltre, an absolute workhorse who was a power threat and an elite defender who parlayed his skill set into arguably the most underrated and underappreciated careers of all time.
Number 51 is in the second deck. Into the stratosphere. G.U. Later. Number 56. Can you say 66? Number 70.
The great home run race between Mark McGwire, Sammy Sosa, and Ken Griffey Jr. was the storyline during the 1998 Major League Baseball season. While Griffey and his natural ability, and only his natural ability, eventually fell off, he was neck and neck with the pharmaceutically filled McGwire and Sosa for a majority of the season. On June 24th of that year, Griffey eclipsed the 30-homer mark against the Padres in San Diego. A little over 100 miles south of where Griffey was making history, the third-ranked prospect in all of Major League Baseball was set to make his debut. Batting in the 8th spot for the Los Angeles Dodgers that night was 19-year-old Adrian Beltre. Entering the 98 season, Beltre was the 3rd best prospect in baseball and 2nd in the Dodgers organization behind Paul Konerko, who coincidentally was standing on second base for Beltre's first at-bat in the show. On the first pitch he saw in the big leagues, Beltre roped a double into left field to bring home Konerko for the first hit and RBI of his career. The hype surrounding prospects wasn't as big when Beltre made his debut as it is in today's game, but the main storyline in mid-June of '98 was focused on the home run chase and certainly not a pair of prospects in Southern California. Teenagers aren't expected to set the world on fire when they enter the big leagues. There have only been 35 players to record 200 or more plate appearances in their final year as a teenager in the live ball era, and they've produced a combined 691 OPS, which isn't great, but it's not terrible. For a reference, a 691 OPS is what Rod Barajas put up during his rather forgettable career. Beltre falls in the bottom half of that group, producing a 648 OPS, sandwiched right in between Al Kaline and Ivan Rodriguez for 24th among those 35. After his rookie season, Beltre slowly began to take form and establish himself as not only an elite hitter, but an elite defender as well. His breakout came in his 7th big league season as a 25-year-old. He posted career bests in hits, runs, home runs, RBI, average, OBP, slugging, OPS, OPS plus, WAR, total bases, pretty much every single statistical category he set career bests in. Beltre had finally had his breakout season and was poised to collect some hardware as he put together the 62nd best season by a hitter in the live ball era. But unfortunately, it took place in 2004, when division rival Barry Bonds collected his 4th straight MVP award. Beltre became the 5th player in the live ball era to post a WAR of at least 9.6 and not lead the league in WAR, joining Lou Gehrig in 1930 and 27, Ted Williams in 1957, Mike Trout in 2018, and Sammy Sosa in 2001. After his dynamic 2004 season in LA, Beltre became a free agent and signed a 5-year deal with the Seattle Mariners to join the ranks of Suzuki, Sexson, Boone, and Ibanez in the Pacific Northwest. His career in Seattle was rather forgettable. Highlighted only by a pair of gold gloves in 2007 and 8, Beltre was barely above a league average hitter before becoming a free agent after the 2009 season. Nobody wanted to commit to the then 31-year-old Beltre, already with 12 big league seasons and nearly 1,700 games under his belt. He was basically a league average hitter with an above average glove, and the perception was that he was an aging third baseman whose best days were behind him. The Boston Red Sox took a shot at Beltre, signing him to a one-year deal, and boy, he didn't disappoint. He put up his best season since his MVP runner-up campaign in 2004, leading the Bigs in doubles and being selected to his first ever All-Star game, while taking home a 9th place finish in the MVP voting. His resurgence prompted the Texas Rangers to sign Beltre to a 5-year deal. He joined Kinsler, Andrews, Hamilton, Cruz, Young, and Napoli in an already stacked Rangers lineup. His first year in Texas in 2011 saw Beltre power the Rangers all the way to the World Series, where David Freese and the Cardinals broke their hearts in an epic fall classic. Beltre seemed to defy Father Time and only get better as his career progressed. In his 8 years in Texas, he was named to 3 All-Star games, took home 3 Gold Gloves and a pair of Silver Sluggers, while finishing in the top 15 in the MVP voting 6 straight times. He never batted below .273, had an OPS plus above 110 in 7 straight seasons, and put up at least a 2.9 WAR in 7 of those 8 seasons, with his final being the exception in both. As his career in Texas progressed, Beltre began to creep up on some historical milestones that would leave him shoulder to shoulder with some of the immortals of baseball. With the longevity of Beltre's career, he was able to put up some ridiculous old-school counting stats. He's played in more games than Alex Rodriguez, racked up more hits than Tony Gwynn, scored more runs than Roberto Alomar, mashed more doubles than Hank Aaron, clubbed more home runs than Stan Musial, drove in more runs than Frank Thomas, tallied more total bases than Ken Griffey Jr., crushed more extra base hits than Ty Cobb, and has a higher career WAR than Wade Boggs, Ken Griffey Jr., Brooks Robinson, and Jimmy Fox, just to name a few. Really puts in perspective just how long Beltre played and how dominant he was during that time. He does own a share of a few major league records as well. He's joined by only Darrell Evans, Reggie Jackson, Alex Rodriguez, and Jim Thome as the only major league players to hit 100 or more home runs for 3 separate teams, and one of only 4 men to hit for 3 cycles during their career, sharing the major league record with Babe Herman, Bob Musial, and Trey Turner. While statistically Beltre is one of the top 50 ball players of all time, there's a legitimate case for Beltre to go down as one of, if not the, best third baseman to ever play the position. Among players who have played at least half their games at the hot corner, Beltre has played in the 2nd most games of all time at third base, has the most career hits, RBI, total bases, and extra base hits, the 2nd most doubles, the 3rd most home runs, and overall WAR. But it wasn't just the offensive side of the ball that Beltre excelled at. His 27 defensive WAR is the 2nd highest of any third baseman, behind only Brooks Robinson, who's arguably the best defensive player in baseball history at any position. Third base is a position defined by driving the ball and being a solid defender. Beltre was elite at both, and elite at both for more than 2 decades. When you think of Adrian Beltre, the first thing that comes to mind is probably somebody touching his head and throwing his glove at them. Some ridiculous gif of him flailing his arms on the base paths, or him playing peekaboo at second base. We remember Beltre for those lighthearted moments instead of his play on the field because, in short, he never really had any career-defining moments. He was a guy who'd never really had the spotlight on him, but went out year after year and just produced on the field. He was never an attention seeker or never had any drama surrounding him, just a guy who loved to play ball. And in turn, he was one of the best of all time to suit up. While I don't think Adrian Beltre will ever get the recognition he truly deserves, it was an honor to watch him and appreciate him from afar during his career. It'll be cool to see his induction speech in Cooperstown in a couple of years, and for his production and style of play to be the benchmark for future generations of third basemen.